Listening this afternoon, and I've heard some phrases thrown around: bandaid solution, bring back JobKeeper. And those opposite, those sitting at home on the screens, sitting to my right, they just don't get it. This is a pandemic like no one has ever seen before. It's a 1 in 100-year event. The Morrison government has continued to be focused on lives and livelihoods. This means we don't look to a set and forget how we roll out financial assistance to business and individuals as the pandemic has changed, as we've seen situations evolve. And, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this persistent call for JobKeeper to be returned. Now, we heard from those opposite when JobKeeper ended last go that the world was going to end, that we were going to fall off an economic cliff. And we saw that that just didn't happen. And in fact, we saw more Australians in work than pre-pandemic conditions. So this call for JobKeeper, you would think by now they might have figured out that they got it wrong then. And so they've got it wrong again now. And I want to draw attention to Mr Paul Waterson's comments when he's been discussing the assistance that's been given to his business, Australian Venue Company, or AVC. They own a number of hospitality venues, particularly pubs, across Australia. And he's actually said that what the Morrison government is proposing now to assist workers with direct payments to workers from the Commonwealth, as opposed to a JobKeeper program which was administered by a business, is that it's all the best parts of JobKeeper with improvements. And the improvements include those workers on visas that previously didn't qualify. And so they now are able to access some assistance. The other part of what's being looked at now is because this isn't a national lockdown, this isn't happening the same in every state across the country. And, I'm a senator from New South Wales, and I know how tough it is for everybody at home around Sydney and Greater Sydney at the moment. But AVC and its pubs that are shut at the moment wouldn't have actually been able to access JobKeeper, because whilst their venues are shut in Sydney and a lot are shut in South Australia and Queensland, they're not shut in the other states. So therefore the group's revenue would not have been seen to decline enough to allow them access to the previous JobKeeper payment. So by looking at modifying things, being a bit adaptable, looking at how we can change, make things better, learn, move forward, continue to develop, what we've actually done now is allowed a system that's impacting, that's going to provide assistance to those individuals that are impacted, not look at businesses that may be national groups. So whilst AVC has around 2,000 of its 5,400 employees that have been stood down, they're maintaining significant contact with them because, again, this is one of the claims that JobKeeper was allowing bosses to stay connected to their employees. Well, what a lot of businesses discovered, particularly in the post-lockdown economic bounce that we seem to see happen quite regularly, was that a lot of business was struggling to find workers. So businesses are doing everything that they can to remain connected to their staff. So if you look at a company like AVC, one of those most, impacted areas when it comes to hospitality, pubs, no vertical imbibing, all those sorts of things that went on, square limitations, all of those sorts of impacts that we're having across this industry. What they're doing is looking at training for their staff, remaining connected to them, keeping training programs going, because they know this will end, things will change, things will open back up again. And they want to make sure that they've still got access to those staff, that they're still connected to them, but perhaps they've even taken the opportunity to grow their staff, to develop their skills and look at ways that they'll be best served to open up as quickly as possible when they can. So they're keeping that connection with their staff. Are there initiatives that admittedly this is a larger organisation, but they have offered staff an incentive that if they remain employed with the group through to January, because obviously in pubs and hospitality we see a little, it can be quite a transient workforce, it tends to be quite a young workforce, that they're topping up their pay to 80% of what it normally would be if they're currently not earning as much money and receiving as much money as they normally do. But if they're still with the company by January, at the end of January, which of course hopefully we're all back open again and can enjoy particularly the fabulous Sydney summer, but that once these venues reopen up and these staff go back to work, and if they stay until the end of January, they don't have to pay the money back. So the businesses are continuing to invest in their staff as best as they can, connecting with their staff and making sure that those employee and employer connections are remaining strong. But, as I said at the beginning, this is about focusing on lives and livelihoods. And by playing politics, we talk about the vaccine and the vaccine rollout, and people, particularly on the opposite side, calling out about the vaccine rollout. Well, it's the vaccine hesitancy that half of you lot have been responsible for that are causing the problems. And you consistently cling to this. And, you've got chief health officers in states, and I know our friend in Queensland up there, that abomination, the comments that she makes are just out of control. No wonder vaccine hesitancy in Queensland is at the highest across the country. What an embarrassment. The fact that, the Premier wants to promote this woman, maybe we should get her up there as soon as possible so she can stop giving health advice, because I can tell you that's not her strong suit. But, this is where we're seeing the vaccine hesitancy come in. People are vaccine shopping. The best vaccine you can get is the one that's available. Go and get it. Get your arm out and get the jab. And there are plenty of options to do it. And in fact, Senator Pratt, if you're struggling to find a vaccine, I've actually developed on my website, I've put together a COVID page and it's got both state and federal booking systems, and it's actually got some information, like actual information, not Ms York's or Dr York's interpretation. It's got actual information from real scientists who've got some experience in haematology, understand how viruses and vaccines work. And, we've put the information together for them. So people can go to my website, have a look, Senator Pratt, hollyhughes.com.au. We've got all the booking systems there. And the booking systems include the GP rollout. And outrageously, I know this, guys, must be such a blow to you because you consistently need to talk things down. I can't imagine how much the Olympics are disappointing you at the moment that we're just going so well. The fact you'd have to cheer Australia on at any point might kill you. But, if you go to my website, you can have a look at all the booking systems. And I can show you, I'm happy to walk you through it because a couple of them there actually cover WA. And you can go on there and have a look and see where the GPs are. Jimmy Rees could give Premier McGowan's press conferences, shut the borders. That's all we ever get from Premier McGowan. The fact that his national cabinet walks out, agrees with the Prime Minister and then says we're going to do it on our own terms, it's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And this sort of contribution to the conversation, if it doesn't stop, this is a national conversation and these premiers need to start putting them and their CHOs back in their boxes. Stop spreading vaccine hesitation. Start encouraging people to get it. Go and make it easier for people to go and get into that. Get into the lockdown. You guys will lock down when someone sneezes. It's just insanity. It's embarrassing, having lived in WA for a while. Guys, just secede already if that's what you think. But, this vaccine hesitation, picking a vaccine, I still want to know, if everyone can tell me who had their flu shot this year, what brand it was. Anyone know? I went to P&G a couple of years ago, couldn't tell you what brand any of those vaccines were. But got a flu vax, got a Pfizer, got an AstraZeneca. Depends what you want. But it's all there and available. And you guys just can't stand it. You cannot bear that we've now hit 12 million doses. You can't stand that yesterday was a record day of doses of over 200,000. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. Get on Team Australia. Get out there and encourage constituents. Go and encourage people to have their vaccine shots. Go and show them. I'll send you a link, Senator Pratt. You can check out the vaccination booking systems. And do you know the great thing about them? What we've seen when we've recommended people to them, they've actually been able to get a vaccine within 2 days, sometimes faster. But, I digress, because we're talking about not only the vaccine hesitation, but how good it is now for people to be able to go and access these vaccines when they're not shopping around. They're not shopping around and listening to, Dr. York, of all people. Just have Nick Coatsworth on. At least he knows what he's talking about. Guy's got a bit of, got some sort of comprehension of what's going to be involved in this process. But, here we are. But so what this government's focused on is actually providing benefits and financial assistance to individuals. So when we want to talk about the times, I just said we can get a vaccination within a couple of days. One of the things that we've learnt since we've introduced this new scheme for people to get assistance, sometimes the money's in their bank within 40 minutes. By cutting out that visit that we were going through, going straight into their bank account within 40 minutes. I mean, can you imagine this lot over the other side? They wouldn't have a system up that you could have it in the bank by 40 minutes. I mean, and then, can I just pop this in, because I do think it's gold this week with the $300 cash incentive. I mean, that's like a cash for clunkers. Off we go again. Let's get the pink bats and the school halls happening, shall we? The cash splash, the cashes, the cheques to dead people. Here we go again in the way they want to address this. But it's hilarious, because we hear from those opposite, bring back JobKeeper, we need JobKeeper, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. And then we get, particularly Senator Chisholm and a couple of the others like to get up and have a bit of a whinge, and they're a bit upset because Harvey Norman accessed JobKeeper. Oh, guess what? The Australia Club accessed JobKeeper, heaven forbid. They need to pay it back. But don't worry about the $300. Let's give it to Gina Reinhardt. I'm pretty sure Katie Page, Anna, they'd all love their $300. So let's just splash that cash around for absolutely no targeting. Just chuck it out there, see how we go. But no. These guys, no consistency, no real comprehension of how things work, of how people actually want support and real support and support delivered to them in a timely fashion. And I reckon in anyone's book, 40 minutes from the being on Centrelink into your bank account's a pretty good effort. But, you won't hear a word over there. Talk it all down. Negative, negative, negative. Let's talk about the graphs, the fact that we're at the bottom of the death tally, my friends. The bottom of the death tally. But we won't ever say that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We won't acknowledge the lower end, bottom of the death tally. But here we are again. I mean, these guys, obviously, they didn't pay much attention in maths class because they don't understand how to read these graphs or what's happening in them or what they actually mean or, It's just, they just want to chuck the cash out wherever they can to whoever doesn't need it for whatever they can think of. But, one of the best vaccine hesitancy people that I love this, it's because, the opposition leader, in his bid to make a point of difference from the member for Maribyrnong who's out there cheering the AstraZeneca on, love Mr Shorten's photos of him getting his AstraZeneca and out there at every media opportunity. He's banging that leadership drum. All those ambitions coming back through. But, there he is, supporting AstraZeneca, supporting Australians, wanting them to get the jab. And what does Mr Albanese do? What does the opposition leader do? Races out as soon as possible to find an anti-vax campaigner. Some woman who, by the way, her tweet today was just gold. If anyone hasn't seen it, go have a look. It's a cracker. He is out of time. He is out of ideas. And I don't think she was supposed to be as a newly endorsed
Senator
Labor
Hughes,
candidate.
your time has expired.